But what's the mechanical damage? I don't know if you guys can see that, but I think I'm confused. All of this work was for nothing. Oh my God, I can't. It might be time to give up on this car. Hello friends. You might remember this Audi TT that I bought as a parts car with mechanical issues. And if you don't, I can't blame you because that was over a year ago. So here's a quick refresher. This started with me buying a convertible TT with moderate front-end damage locally, before realizing that due to slight rarity and lack of aftermarket supply, parts for these cars are quite expensive despite them being worth only around $7,000. Just with hood, bumper, radiator support and fender, I'd be looking at a few $1,000s, not to mention paintwork. So this wasn't really feasible, and instead I found a same color non-convertible coupe TT at Copart in Phoenix, Arizona. Bought it for a couple grand and shipped it to myself in Wisconsin. Since then, I fixed the convertible, sold it, and the profit from that basically just paid off this parts car. So now I own this for free. For now at least. But it does have some sort of mechanical damages. We just don't know what they are yet. We do know that the car is drivable, so let's start it up and see what happens. Okay, started up real easy. Sounds fine. It's losing a little bit of power because the jump starter stopped giving it boost, but looks like the alternator is doing its job. We don't even have a check engine light, but we do have a bunch of other lights. I think I'm hearing some backfires, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of smoke. There's definitely a bit of a noise that shouldn't be there, but I'm yet to figure out what that noise might be coming from. Maybe it's from the transmission. Maybe the transmission is having an issue. I guess we can go for a drive and find out. The lights went away for the traction control. That was just for our steering angle sensor due to the dead battery. And looks like as soon as we started doing some driving, that went away, which is usually what happens with that specific fault. But what's the mechanical damage? Yeah, there's no acceleration. I'm floored. It is barely climbing. We're gonna try accelerating from a stop. So here's first gear. Oh, now there's plenty of smoke. Okay. But the coolant levels were good. The oil level looked good and didn't seem to have anything foreign in it. I don't know how well you guys can see that. I mean, it smells like it's just running really, really lean. And I think now we're picking up some misfires. Oh yeah, I think we have misfires now. Still no check engine light. That's odd. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, so we have codes for fuel rail pressure. Okay, so maybe I was right. Maybe it is just really low. Or do we simply have an issue with our diverter valve? I do know these cars have a high pressure fuel pump that sometimes can be an issue. So maybe that's what we were dealing with. Frequently in situations like this, the most likely issue is the most common issue. In this engine, it is very common for the camshaft chain to stretch and lose tension. In some cases, that will grenade and completely destroy the engine, but if you get lucky enough, you might get a lean condition because the chain also drives the high-pressure fuel pump. For those not familiar, this car comes with a 2.0 FSI engine, which does have a timing belt that's driven by the crankshaft and spins around the water pump and the exhaust camshaft. The intake camshaft, however, gets driven by a camshaft chain on the other end of the engine, which connects both cams together. So, our friends at ECS Tuning sent me the complete cam chain kit, including everything needed to do this service. This is one of many kits that they've put together for hundreds of cars, particularly German ones, that contain high quality and reputable brands products to make the ordering process absolutely seamless. Spoiler alert, this was not the problem and my microphone had issues, so let's speed through this install and move on to what actually had a major failure. First, I removed the high pressure fuel pump. There are 3 bolts holding it down, 1 high pressure fuel line and 1 low pressure fuel line. Next, we move on to the timing chain cover and the valve cover. Alright, here we are. So this camshaft here is the one that's being driven by the timing belt, meaning that we need to remove this camshaft, which should allow us to take off the chain and put on the new one. This cover here is what holds the camshafts down, so with that removed, the cams are free. Except the exhaust cam is still held in by the timing belt, which is in good shape and we will keep in place. Now the other camshaft is free to come out once we loosen the bolts for the chain tensioner. Once everything's in place, the cam retainer bracket gets the much needed sealant on the side that goes on the cylinder head and can be bolted down. At which point we're ready to release the tensioner and confirm there's a correct amount of links between timing marks, meaning that both cams and the crankshaft are now correctly synced. So everything got put back together and now I can start the car.
Ah, there we go.
Unfortunately, nothing changed, and very soon the idle got really rough again and the smoke came back, along with some really scary noises. I think I'm confused. Alright, so I went to a junkyard and bought both the low and high pressure fuel pumps. There's no telling whether this is going to fix our issue, which is why I didn't want to spend the money on a brand new unit, especially for these high pressure fuel pumps. They're worth a solid $400, $500, $600 when they're new. So obviously that wasn't really a great alternative. And honestly, these things are pretty easy to swap. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm not really concerned about putting a used one on here, because I would rather change 8 of these that cost $30 from a junkyard than do, one that costs $500 or $600. And just to increase the chances of success, I'm gonna install our intake with the air filter and MEF sensor. That way the car knows the amount of air it's getting and has the highest chance of running well. And there we go. And it's running rough already. I don't know where that sound is coming from. It has been a really long time since I touched this project, and I finally got around to it. I moved it, parked it over here. It actually was running surprisingly well. And then I went to start it again, and we got incredibly thick white smoke coming from the exhaust. Take a look. Okay, currently sounds good. We're getting a lot of smoke again, and the fuel pressure jumps 40 to 50 psi. Okay. And now it doesn't even start. Which honestly is probably for the best. What we're gonna do is take a look inside the cylinders and see if we find anything in there. Yeah, I feel like I'm seeing puddles in there. Look, oh boy. Yeah, what is that? I'm using a scope camera to look inside our spark plug holes. Unfortunately, I lost the scope footage, but I did find a significant amount of oil inside. That would explain all the smoke. So the next step is to measure compression. What we have right here is a compression tester, which basically just measures the amount of pressure the cylinder can generate and hold. Because normally cylinders are supposed to have quite a bit of pressure in them. With this guy installed instead of the spark plug, I let the engine crank and look at the reading. Okay, what do we have? Yep, so just about, I think 150 psi is what it was getting. 150 psi is good. Let's see what the other cylinders tell us. That was also pretty high, good. They're all showing similar results, and that's all we really want to see. Okay, after doing a lot of reflecting and thinking and researching, I think our most likely scenario is a blown turbo. I probably should have come to this conclusion way earlier because technically all the symptoms point to that. It's just that, I don't know, usually blown turbos make noises and, I don't know, throw codes. In this case, we are not. But the smoke from the exhaust doesn't smell like coolant, so I don't think it's head gasket. The pressure test is great. However, we are losing oil, and the smoke could easily be from oil, and potentially it's oil that doesn't go into the combustion chamber. Instead, it just dumps into the exhaust through our turbo, and that's why we're not getting that much inside the cylinders. Long story short, let's remove the turbo and see what we can find out. So I was at first planning to fully remove our axle here, but it looks like I can just set it aside and it's not going to be in my way too much, because theoretically all we really need to get to are those bolts right there. because that's what holds the exhaust manifold, the bottom of it anyway. I already loosened up this nut, and as you can see, all it does is just clamps down this aluminum bracket onto our exhaust manifold. So we don't really need to fully remove the nut. As long as we loosen it up a little bit, that is sufficient. Next, let's pop off this inlet here. There we go. So we are seeing quite a bit of oil, as you can see, within our turbo. So I think that is a sign that I am correct and we are likely dealing with a blown turbo. All right, so after disconnecting a couple of oil lines and coolant lines down at the bottom, I think we might still have one or two up top here, but luckily now the turbo is pretty free to move. So we can try and move it around and see if we can get better access to those coolant lines if there is any left. I honestly don't even know at this point. It's possible that this is it. Now just a matter of figuring out a way to get this thing out of here. It is quite large. And I'm not sure if it's supposed to come out from the bottom or the top. Oh yeah, oh that turbo is blown. I'll have to show you shortly, but I'm pretty sure it's doing things it's not supposed to do at all. By no means am I a turbo engineer or specialist, but I don't think we're supposed to be getting this kind of play. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I am moving our craw in here a solid inch up and down, and that just should not be happening. We have some good news that we did indeed diagnose this car properly. So I did accidentally allow this tube to fall down, and well, that gave us an idea of how much oil we have in our intercooler and the entire turbo induction system. So yeah, she was drinking a lot of oil. This is awful. Hopefully our engine is still okay after this. I mean, at this point, like, this is enough oil to probably hydrolock the engine with the oil, but I mean, it wasn't knocking, and I don't think we had any internal damage when I took a look at the cylinders. All right, so I think it will be easier to remove the turbo from the bottom of the car, and to do that, I think I will need to get our axle out of here. So to do that, I'm going to unbolt our sway bar end link, and that should give us enough space to push this guy out of here. Luckily, this thing is from the south, and almost every bolt here is very, very rust-free, which is fabulous. For anybody who works on cars in the Midwest and all the other salt regions, I mean, you will know how nice it is to work on things from the south. Apply some tension to the sway bar. There we go. Yeah, all right, perfect. All right, so this is out of the way now. Here we are. Axle comes right out. Okay, I think it's finally, yes. Okay, I had to rotate this thing in so many directions before I figured out which way it's supposed to come out. Very unpleasant, especially when you have oil and coolant dripping all over your face. Well, let's see what we're dealing with here. So obviously, yeah, a ridiculous amount of oil going into our induction. These fins in here, they're supposed to be able to spin, which they do, but they shouldn't be able to move back and forth like this. So at this point, I have a choice. I can buy a used turbo that would be okay. I mean, usually these turbos don't blow at this mileage. I'm not sure why on this car it did. Potentially lack of oil changes or just improper use and whatnot. Because I've had multiple A4s that I think survived to way past 170,000 miles with stock turbo, at least to the best of my knowledge. We can do a Chinese new one. I don't really know if there's a OEM new one anywhere at this point. After all, this is a 20-year-old car. And option number 3, which is very, very tempting, is to buy an upgraded turbo. Like we could do a KO4. That would be a bit more boost. That would be a little quicker, faster. I found some listings online of people who rebuild or refurbish these turbos with a bigger craw, a KO4 craw, which just goes into this housing but provides a bit more boost. That would be fun to do, but then you kind of have to do tuning and I don't really want to spend the extra money on that. After all, this is basically a free car for us, and the more money I spend on it, the less free it becomes, if that makes sense. And here we go. I have made a choice, and I chose to buy a used OEM turbo, just because that is the safest, it's the most reliable, and also the cheapest option. Obviously, getting a China turbo would have been fun, but then you have to do all the tuning, supporting mods, just more work than I'm willing to put into this project. Plus, honestly, these are fun to drive as is. The convertible that we had, I had such a blast driving it around, so I'm really not looking to do much more power on this. Worst case, if I really feel like bumping it up a little bit, I can do a stage 1 and be done with it. So stock turbo in good shape with no shaft play, at least compared to our old turbo, which is absolutely smoked. So this should last us long enough. Now I just need to swap over a few things from the old turbo to the new one, and we'll be ready to reinstall it onto the car.
And if you thought that squeezing that thing out of there looked hard, putting it back in while working against gravity is an absolute pain in the ass.
It's definitely quite a tight fit in there for the turbo in the back of the engine. All I do know is that I have been trying, as you can see by my sweat, and unsuccessfully. So I'm a little sick of it, and I'm trying to come up with a better strategy. It might be easier from the top, so let's try that now. This is definitely the most unpleasant part of this job. Everything else can be pretty easily unbolted, especially with the lift, but just squeezing this turbo in there. Okay, I just broke the valve or the solenoid, whatever this guy is. Honestly, won't know off the top of my head. This guy, I'm assuming that's just a controller for our wastegate actuator, and this just snapped off. So now I have to replace that. Okay, I genuinely don't know why I was so hesitant to remove our downpipe, but as soon as I, partially removed it, things really opened up and the turbo just went right on. So that was our main constricting point, and now the turbo is in place. I just have to bolt everything down, connect our lines, coolant, oil, vacuum, you know, you name it, and we should be good. So let's finish this up, shall we? Okay, things were going smoothly until they weren't. I did an oopsie. As I was tightening down this little tube, I heard a pop and broke this bolt by over torquing it. Really dumb moment, not proud of that, but all that really means is that we have to break out the heavy artillery, aka the welder. Hopefully this doesn't fight me too much. So we're gonna try and wipe this down, get rid of any oil, and then I'm gonna find a bolt that I can attach to this. So we're gonna ground the welder over here and then send a whole bunch of current to this guy to heat it up and to also attach this bolt to it. Let's see if we're lucky at all. Oh, I think so. Yes. Okay. That came out really easy. And if you're someone who works on cars, dude, a welder is such a great tool to add to your arsenal, because stuff like that, just welding is irreplaceable on. I mean, I could have been here for an hour or two drilling this bolt out. Potentially would have messed up the threads. Just not really worth the trouble when I could get this out in 5 minutes of welding.
After that little side mission, everything else is reinstalled and it's time for an oil change.
The map sensor is built into our engine cover / air box, so we do need to connect that. But I would be pretty interested in coming up with some sort of a cold air intake for this car, just because taking off this stupid cover every time I have to do something on the engine is a little annoying. Even though it's pretty painless, I still don't really like it. Ta-da! This is it, you guys. It is time to start it up and see if all of this work was for nothing. I don't really have any coolant in here right now, so maybe I should give it some of that. Even though I'm not really planning to let it run for too long, it's entirely possible I'm about to get smoked out because of all the oil still inside the exhaust, so that's gonna be just smoking up things in here for a while, but oh well. I think I'll give it some coolant just so that I can let it run for more than a couple minutes. All right guys, let's do this. I'm so excited for this, even though I don't really know what I'm gonna do with this car after it's fixed, because obviously we still have all that body damage or panels that need to be replaced that we took off of the convertible that I already sold. Unless I end up coming across some really cheap body parts for this, I might just keep it like this and track it, because these are so fun to drive. Okay, we got some life. There we go. That is a pretty smooth start if you ask me. I'm hearing a bit of a misfire that might go away. Again, we do have to clear up a lot of oil. Okay, yeah, she's not running very smooth. There goes all of that oil and our exhaust. Oh no. She wasn't happy. She just shut off and obviously smoked this entire place out. It should be good now, right? I mean, our turbo was definitely bad. Could there be issues that got caused by that and are still unresolved? Maybe. Or maybe it just needs to clear some of this crap out from the oxygen sensors and whatnot. Let's try this again. Like on the first start, it actually does so well. But then as it keeps idling, it gets worse. Should I give it some revs? Look at that, that revs so good. The smoke is intense though. Oh my God, I can't see anything. Jesus. Look at that. Whew. Yeah, we're gonna need to let her clear this out a little bit. Hopefully the fire department doesn't think that there's a fire in here. It's definitely running better now. It's not perfectly smooth, but again, I think it's going to get better. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. I can't breathe. Whew. That's rough. At least it's not shutting itself off anymore. It's definitely making some odd noises, but it might get better. And yeah, the exhaust is definitely not as smoky as it used to be. I don't think we have a check engine light, so that's nice. Give her some revs. And yeah, the amount of smoke has definitely decreased, so we're just burning that stuff off.
I read the codes, and the most concerning one was the air intake system leak.
Because that's the one that can cause all the other codes, which is the misfire on every single cylinder. Luckily the car still runs, so that's a good sign. I think we made an improvement, but not as much of an improvement as we would like. And potentially we just left a boost hose disconnected somewhere and we have an air leak. I'm gonna hook up a smoke machine and see if I can smoke test the system and see if we have any smoke escaping somewhere once I start pumping smoke into our intake tube that goes directly into our turbo. So this little guy up here is our smoke machine. It has a little bit of oil in there that, when warmed up, produces a lot of smoke. There we go. Plenty of smoke, should be enough. And then we have a little cone thing plugged into that intake tube. We plug that in there and hope to see smoke escaping out of somewhere. I see something. We have some coming out from this timing cover. The only thing that comes to mind is that maybe a gasket for one of our camshafts is letting smoke out, which would mean that we would have a massive oil leak when the car is running. Let's pop this guy off and see if we can find anything. Oh yeah, okay. There's no way I would have been able to find this without the smoke machine, so this was a really good idea. So that little guy over here is a cap. There we go. That's supposed to be inside of this hole. So that would easily lead to our misfires. I'm surprised I'm not seeing a bunch of oil everywhere, because that technically retains oil. So this must be from back when I was doing our cam chain at the beginning of the video, which was probably like half a year ago in real time, just so you guys are aware. Okay, luckily I managed to get this seal in. With those little issues addressed, let's start her up and see if she runs any better. So far, sounds perfect. Yeah, this is smooth. Previously, the idle was bouncing up and down a lot. It's not doing that anymore, and honestly, inside the car, I'm not feeling any vibration from the engine. And the best part is that it's no longer smoking, so that is really exciting. Because before I was too embarrassed to even let this thing run and scare my neighbors. No misfires, guys. I think we're misfire free. Yeah, there's nothing. She runs good now. Beautiful. Yeah, that runs fantastic. Still, even under load, which is not much load, but we are not getting any misfires. So currently we are dealing with airbag light, which is likely for the sensors in the front end. I don't know if those are hooked up. We have steering, TPMS, and traction control. All of these lights are likely caused by a steering angle sensor being out of calibration after we had removed the battery. So all I have to do now is drive this car around, and potentially majority of these are going to go away. I would love to drive this thing around, but currently my radiator support is held in by like 1 bolt, if that. So we definitely want to, you know, secure things a little better first. Okay, a bit of a development. I gave it a lot of throttle, maybe like 5,000 to 6,000 RPM, and we're kind of right back where we started. Did I blow a turbo? And it now runs like crap again. Come on. Is it just blowing turbos? My spirits were high for a very short amount of time. I mean, the turbo definitely should not have done that. I didn't do anything that the car shouldn't be able to do. I revved it up to 4,000 or 5,000 RPM for maybe 2 seconds. Did I blow another turbo? Am I gonna have to do all this again? How does that make any sense? It might be time to give up on this car. And that note, I'll see you later.